What's going on, YouTube fam, and welcome back to the Fit Man Cook Kitchen, or I should say domicile, or whatever you want to call it. But welcome back to the channel, guys. I promised you all a keto video almost about a month ago, and here it is. It's been stuck here on this hard drive, which unfortunately crashed with about a few dozen other Fit Man Cook recipes, and so I've been trying to get this resolved. So that's the reason why I have not been able to post the video, because the video has been trapped here. So I've decided to reshoot the video and do a truncated version of it. This is going to be a different type of video. I'm going to be talking a whole lot, even more so than usual. So without further ado, let's get to it. A few months ago, I decided to do the ketogenic diet. Before I jump into the reasons why, first let's back up and talk about what is ketogenic. Essentially, the keto diet is a very high fat and very low carb diet. Ketogenic comes from the word ketosis, and simply put, the body basically breaks down fat molecules, converts them into ketones, and those are used as energy for your body. You can only reach ketosis when you have a very low carbohydrate intake and a very high fat intake. So some of you all may be thinking, oh, this sounds a lot like Atkins. The biggest difference with the Atkins diet, it was just simply a very low carb diet. With most diets, or with the average diet, the body is in this state called glycolysis, whereby they are using your carbohydrates as a source of energy. So the carbs are great because you get to have the fullness within your muscles. Carbs put that water and that energy into the muscles, and then once all that is used up, that's when your body will go and target the fat. In ketosis, your body is essentially, it's primed to lose fat and to burn fat. The carbs are very, very, very low, and so it goes immediately to that fat because you have a higher fat intake, so it's going to use that as a source of energy. So you are a fat burning machine. The big question is, why did I do it as Fit Man Cook? Well, for one, I've heard so much about it and people were doing it, and I kept getting a lot of inquiries from y'all about the diet. So I said, you know what, one of the best ways for me to learn about it is to try it out myself. Also, I was really needing a change. I was traveling a whole bunch, and I tried to, as much as possible, kind of count my macros. So there would be times where I would go long periods of times without eating, just because the filming schedule or the travel schedule. And I would travel with my nuts, my seeds, and my beef jerky. And those things would run out. I was doing a lot of breads and pastas and rationalizing, saying, well, since I haven't eaten all day, I need the calories. Those things began to add up, and I began to gain weight. Also, what was happening at the time was I was getting very, very, very sleepy after my meals. I was really thirsty oftentimes. I was going to the bathroom. I was having intense headaches. So I had to go to my doctor because I was concerned that I was showing signs for hyperglycemia, and it was confirmed that yes, I was showing those signs. And so I knew that I needed an immediate change. And it was really hard for me too, just because of what I do. And I'm talking about health and wellness, and here I am struggling with my own diet and my own health. So it was very easy for me to help people to lose weight and to give all these different recommendations. But then when it came to my own diet, my own practices, I was actually not following my own advice. So I had to check my ego at the door, and I said, all right, I want to start from scratch, and I want to fall in love with fitness and food all over again. I was able to find this personal trainer that knew me back when I was really big. He's a bodybuilder. I got my start by doing a lot of the bodybuilding concepts, and so I told him about my symptoms and what I was feeling, and I said, I want you to treat me as if I don't know anything about fitness. And it was weird for him because he knew that I did. So by the time I got started with him, I was about 208 pounds. I didn't check my fat percentage right then and there, but about 2 months prior I had checked it, and it was around 21%. So at the time I started with him, it was maybe about 19 to 20%, which is really high for me. That just shows you how much weight I'd put on secretly behind the scenes, because I was bulking. I wasn't bulking, I was just getting big. So here's my picture when I first started out. As you can see, I had a lot of water weight, I had a lot of chub. In order to get into a ketosis state, it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a few days. So for me, it took roughly about 9 days. So I actually went online to get some of these ketone test strips. These were from a company called smackfat.com. And I would take it, I would urinate on the end of it, and then let it sit for like a minute or two, and then it would give a color, and then the color right here would correspond onto the bottle. and it would show me the amount of ketones in the body. The darker it got, the more ketones there were in my body. And remember, the ketones are what the fat molecules are being broken down into in order to convert into energy. The first 2 weeks of this diet were very challenging. Although I was experiencing a lot of weight loss right away, I was also very sluggish, and I had the most intense headaches ever. And this is attributed to something called the keto flu. As your body adjusts to this ketosis state, you're gonna have some of these symptoms. I was lacking energy. I was a lot more sluggish during my workouts. And I remember at one time, I used to like going to my buddy's boot camp classes. So I would do my weights in the afternoon or morning time, and then in the evening times I may go to his boot camp just because I like to do it. And I almost passed out. I did notice a decrease in strength initially. So for the first 2 weeks, I wasn't as strong as I was. But after that, everything began to normalize and my strength actually increased. So just know that there is a hazing period called the keto flu. For some people, it could last a couple of days. For some people, like me, it lasted almost 2 weeks. So because you are cutting out the carbohydrates in your diet, you're gonna lose a lot of weight really, really fast. So that was really motivating for me to see. So people on Atkins, they always get excited because they're like, oh, I lost all this weight. And then they have their first meal with carbs and they blow up. That's because they never really lost any fat. They just lost a whole bunch of water. And even my girlfriend at the time, she said, oh, wow, this is really working for you like right away. And I had to temper that with the reality of like, all right, this is probably like a lot of water right now. Even though I began to feel better by week 3, it was also really important for me to kind of keep up the level of activity that I had. I went to Oregon and we went on like a 9 or 10 hour like day hike. And I began to feel a little bit dizzy and lightheaded and getting the shaky Bambi legs and shaky arms. What we had to do as well, before workouts, I began to drink about a half of a Gatorade, and I know that that's sugar, but because of the intensity of the workout, I was able to burn that off right away. I thought that would knock me out of a ketosis state, but when I tested it out, those things did not knock me out of ketosis. You know, I did want some definition, but I also didn't want to get like really flat looking. So I was kind of panicking and feeling that I looked really flat. And even the trainer did agree. And so what we did was we went to 1 treat meal per week, and this was very, very, very helpful for me. With this diet, because it was so restrictive, it actually gave me something to look forward to each week, so I would train even harder and I would anticipate what that 1 treat meal would be. And it also really helped to fill me out so I didn't feel as flat. And then my next workouts were very, very explosive, so I actually enjoyed that. It did knock me out of ketosis, those meals, but it only took though a few days for me to hop back on, and I would do the little ketone test and then I'd be right back on there. Between 4 to 6 weeks, I was really vibing, I was grooving, but the weight loss began to kind of slow down. On average, I was about 1 to 2 pounds per week, and I had just kind of stopped and kind of flatlined right there, and I thought it may have had something to do with with my treat meals, but that wasn't it. The reason is that I began to get really excited about the diet, because the diet is one of the best things about ketogenic, because fats taste so darn good, y'all. Ooh, fats taste good. So I was just kind of having like a free-for-all, and I would take the diet that I had and I just began to add in other fats like bacon and butter and things like that. And so when the trainer found out, duh, Kevin, he was like, okay, you just can't just start adding stuff in there thinking that you're gonna have the same results. And he's right. I went back to the original diet and I began to lose weight again. In the last few weeks too of the diet, I was traveling a whole bunch as well. And so I was able to maintain close as possible to the amount of calories, but for sure I wasn't having the carbs. I was having my treat meal once a week. So here's the end result. By week 8, I was very happy with the results from just in a few short weeks. I was able to lose this much. And I also had a lot of momentum and enthusiasm going forward, because I knew what I had to do with this diet. It was very clear. With that being said, I want to take you right now into the kitchen and we can talk about what I was eating. All right, so before I walk you all through what I was eating for 8 weeks, I want to talk a little bit about the ketogenic diet in general. Because ketosis requires very low carbohydrate intake, a lot of the foods that we really do enjoy, like rice and grains, and even fruit, you cannot really have on the ketogenic diet. So while that was pretty tough, a lot of the high fatty, tasty proteins kind of made up for that. what I did find in my own experience is that even though the meals were actually less in terms of like the amount of ingredients I was using, I did find that the ketogenic diet was a little bit more pricey because I was buying higher quality proteins. I was also buying different oils. I was buying raw nuts and seeds, and those things tend to be a lot higher priced. As I mentioned before, at about week 4, week 5, I was really concerned about being flat. And so one thing that we did was we boosted the level of protein in the diet. You want to be careful that you just can't add in a whole lot of protein, because too much protein can actually run counter to ketosis. But here are some of the proteins that I use. I use this one post-workout, and then I also added in some collagen. And what I liked about the collagen is that it gave a really quick protein boost, so I could not use up all of my, my good tasty protein, and that it was unflavored. And so I could add this into my protein shake, I could add it into my coffee. And one of the main benefits too of collagen, it's good for my joints. And so the more I was doing the weight training, I didn't have as much joint pain. I mentioned before about the keto flu and the headaches and the feelings of sluggishness and fatigue. And it's really important that you don't go too extreme with ketogenic, because I know that a lot of people just cut out all carbs, and vegetables have carbs. So in order to supplement, what I was doing was I was making sure that I had a great men's multivitamin, and then this wellness formula. I love this stuff. This is what I use whenever I'm sick or I'm feeling the symptoms of being sick. And all it is just a really natural herb supplement that gives you an immunity boost. So let me stress this again, is that you don't want to take away all the vegetables from your diet, because they do provide a lot of vitamins and nutrients and minerals for you. So about those sweet cravings, yes, I did have them. I use stevia in the raw, these little packets, and I would put this either into my protein shake to make it just a little bit sweeter. Sometimes I would squeeze lemons and mix water in there and put like a packet of stevia. I know I was just desperate for something because I just wanted something like a sweet flavor, and stevia does it for me. I also got myself some sugar-free maple flavored syrup. You can use sweeteners on this diet, but you want to be careful not to add too much. That can lead to bloating, it can lead to headaches, it can lead to other problems. And then again, you want to be careful what you're adding into your diet when you're trying something new, so you can find out what's working and what's not. Let me give a quick caveat in that whenever I do a new diet, I want to be as base as possible. So if you're expecting something that's really fancy and crazy, some radical recipes, no, not for my own diet when I'm just trying to make it work. So this diet is actually pretty basic. All right, here we go. So for breakfast, I was having some scrambled eggs, or a little egg casserole. It was just about four or five eggs. If I wanted a protein boost, I would just add in some egg whites, has a little bit of shiitake mushrooms and spinach and bell pepper. Put in some herbs and some sea salt and pepper, and then boom. Oh, and then to make this creamy, I did add in a little bit of goat cheese. Now, you want to keep your diet as low carb as possible. So the good thing about keto is that you can actually stay away from some of the processed low fat, reduced fat products, because what they'll do is they'll take out the fat from those and they'll add sugar, so that way it'll taste good. Keto is good because you can actually have the full flavored, full fat product. So if you're gonna buy cheese for this diet, you need to go ahead and get the full flavored, non-reduced fat cheese. After breakfast, I enjoyed a mid-morning meal / snack. So it would just be a regular protein shake. And then I would get another boost of protein with the collagen, and then just 1 tablespoon, 1 serving of a natural nut butter. And I love the cashews because they were sweeter. For lunch, I'd have a cashew chicken salad, and then to boost the fat content, I would add about a tablespoon of sesame oil vinaigrette, and then top it all off with some cashews, and maybe about a 1/4 to 1/3 cup of raw cashews. For dinner, I'd either have lamb or bison or salmon. Now these two aren't completely equal. I like lamb because lamb is really high in fat. It's also loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Now for the salmon, if you are a seafood person, salmon is really high in fat as well, but it's not quite as high in fat as lamb and bison. So what I would have to do was add maybe about a tablespoon of olive oil to the meal. And then with either option, I just enjoyed grilled asparagus or broccoli. And for my final meal, I'd either have eggs or another protein shake. So I'm gonna post my diet below. Let me just go ahead and say that I do not recommend that you just go and do my diet at all. I definitely encourage you to go ahead and seek out someone to help you to craft your own diet. Quick last thoughts: when in doubt, eat real food. You can enjoy condiments. Just make sure that those condiments are not loaded up with sugar. And also be conscious that the more things that you kind of add into your diet, the different elements, that the harder it may be to kind of pinpoint what's going to work for you and what's not working for you and how your body adjusts. Ketogenic is very tasty because it's all the foods that we truly love so much, but without the carbs. There can be a slippery slope at times whenever you are preparing your foods because, again, fats taste so good. And also be careful for those lifters out there that you don't want to overload your diet with a whole bunch of protein because that can knock you out of the ketosis state. For me, I did have about 1 gram of protein for every pound of lean body weight. So, overall, I highly recommend this diet. I do think there are risks, as with any diet, but so long as you do it correctly, I think that you kind of mitigate the the risks. I think this is also a good diet for a precursor if you're trying to get ready for a photo shoot, because you do lose a lot of water weight. But I do think that it lays the foundation for you to begin to do that in a much more manageable and also a very tasty way. What I will say is that you do need to get with a dietitian or with a licensed personal trainer with knowledge of nutrition if you want to go ahead and do this diet. It also does not hurt to get a checkup with your primary care physician to find out anything that you need to know about your body before you do this. Some people cannot digest fats very well. I would not recommend this diet to them. But there also just may be some other health concerns that you may not be aware of that you need to know before you try any type of restrictive diet. Consider the keto flu. Remember, don't go and throw away the diet right away if you're beginning to feel those flu-like symptoms of the headache and fatigue and being sluggish. That's all a part of the adjustment period. Can go very extreme with this diet, and I just think there is a slippery slope there, so you need to be very careful. If you have one of those personalities that just kind of goes like all in something like this, just do it with someone so they can monitor your progress and just make sure that you're not, taking a jump off that building and saying you can fly, homie. So for my people out there who are pro athletes, who are actually performance athletes, you need to be very careful about doing this diet because the ketogenic diet may not give you enough energy to be as explosive and powerful as you need to be. And lastly, consider your overall lifestyle. And this is the final point that I'll say. For me, I love keto, but I don't think that I can do it for the long term. I can do it when I'm traveling just for business and for my quick projects and I'm trying to get ready for something, but overall, no. And here's the reasons why. For me and my job here as Fitman Cook, experiencing different cuisines and foods, it requires me to to kind of branch out there. So being on keto is not really compatible with that. So overall, even though I love the diet and I felt great, it's not something that I can sustain over the long haul. And again, I just think the whole diet is hella tasty as well. I mean, come on, who wouldn't like a diet in fats? Come on now. Thank y'all for watching. I know this is not our typical video. I hate that my other video did not work out, but I hope that you all find this video really helpful. I want you all to post your comments and also your experiences below, because that's how we're all really going to grow and learn together as one big community. Until next time, y'all, I do want y'all to keep it healthy, but of course, never ever boring. Boom!